So friends, we have supply chain attacks caused $60 billion in damages in 2025, triple what they caused in 2021. Every language, every ecosystem, every build step, they're a target because who does not use Docker? And Docker's response was to make hardened container images free for everyone. We have head of engineering, Tushar, here today to dive deep into that and all the things that come from it. So welcome to the show, Tushar.
Thank you. Excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about all of that.
Where do we begin in such a deep topic? I mean, you got vendors out there that had products around this. You got the desire to secure the supply chain. You have a brand to protect. You got developers to protect. You got build steps to protect. You got a lot of responsibility. I mean, it's a big job you have, but where do we begin to unpack the reasoning and decision making behind this choice?
Yeah. Maybe let me talk about how we think of supply chain security and our current role in it, and then how that evolved into Docker Hardened Images, and then eventually why we made it free and how we see that.
What exactly is Docker Hardened Images?
We can just explain that too. Perfect. Okay, so let's start at the beginning before even that. I'm going to assume everyone knows Docker and Docker Hub. Everyone builds containers, you use images. Docker Hub is effectively upstream for open source container images. We get billions and billions of pulls per month. Everyone pulls from us. And these are the repositories or images of usable open source software, and not just like upstream base images, but I want MySQL on Debian. You get that from us. That works. Great. Mm-hmm. We've been doing this for a decade, but we basically keep up with upstream. As a result, images do have CVs. They have lots of CVs caused by multiple reasons. One, bloated stuff, bloated packages that are built for usability first, as a result have many packages in them, or just, not patching fast enough. Hardened images, and this is a concept that, has started in the industry even before we launch a product, which is, let's first minimize this problem. What people started doing was, we'll have scanners in production. They'll see when there's a CV. We'll go alert some teams. They'll have to go update and patch. And this is sort of the world I lived in. Instead, why do we need all these images? Can we first minimize them? Let's get minimal packages that are only what we need. Second, can we have someone patch these faster? And then we drive that. So we reduce the burden on engineering teams. This is how the movement that started. It's very natural for Docker to do this. And so we launched Docker Hardened Images as a paid product early last year. These are hardened images, base images, app images that are minimal, low to no CVs, backed by an SLA by us. When we launched, we had a limited catalog, and we've been aggressively growing that. Our vision was always, Docker is broad adoption, get tooling and content out to everyone. So vision was always, we need to make this accessible to everyone. And then for enterprises, we provide things enterprises care about, compliance, and we can cover what is an enterprise package. But for everyone out there, they should be able to get a great starting point and a secure starting point. So that was a vision always. We just had to build up to that. So that's what we got to last year and launched that out there.
So this is a paid product for a bit there. And this is a big deal because you're letting revenue go by making this choice.
Yes and no. So it was a paid product. What we did is basically launch a large catalog we made our entire catalog available for free, nearly most of it. What's paid is stuff that enterprises would care about still. So what's free is any developer, any project, open source projects have been adopting this at scale. In fact, N8N is probably the largest open source project that's moved to this, right? Which is what we want. We want everyone to have a secure starting point. But now if you want an SLA, any place where there's a CISO, they want things. I want an SLA commitment behind the patching. I want FIPS images and sticks images. I want support and patching on images that are old, outside LTS images. That kind of stuff is in our paid product. I want deeper, more scalable customizations. Those are in a paid product. So we still have a paid tier, and that's basically the had to wear. If there's a CISO who cares about a bunch of stuff, that stuff is in the paid tier. Free tier is for every developer, every company out there.
Gotcha. So table stakes, it seems, is SBOMs, SLSA. Yeah. I didn't know there was an SLSA out there, but there is. SLSA build level provenance.
Yeah.
And cryptographic signing. You're making those three things.
Those things
table
are free.
stakes.
Everyone gets an SBOM. Our build pipeline salsa.
Salsa. That's how you say it? Salsa?
Salsa. That's how you say it, salsa. It's fun. There you go.
I'm not going to trip over my acronym ability then and just do salsa.
And so that is how we build these. So we have a salsa level 3 build pipeline. We actually even open sourced our builder for this. What's been interesting is to do this, we had to change how we build images. It's still using like Docker build kit underneath the covers, but we moved away from Docker files to our own semantic layer, to our own new way to build these well. I can explain that. And then our build system. It's been interesting as we've done this. Supply chain security is a broad topic, and secure content is one part of that. Securing your build system is another part of that. That's key. So it's been interesting we've done this now. Lots of companies are interested in our build pipeline. So that's the next thing we're looking at, is exposing that as technology to everyone, so everyone can have secure build pipelines. And we'll keep going down this route of like how to basically secure the supply chain is just critical. Not just for traditional container stuff, but we'll also see this with AI when we talk about that.
You said you moved away from Dockerfile. Is that right?
Concretely, I mean, it's still using the same technology underneath the covers, but just we built our own, we open source this too. We built our own YAML syntax here just to make builds more repeatable. Like in Docker files, you can shell out, you can do stuff. So remove that. So in this syntax, it's very repeatable, it's reproducible. So you can actually do these in a way where you meet SLSA requirements. It's still build kit underneath the covers.
Can you unpack briefly SBOM, what that means, why it's important, and SLSA, which is obviously how you say it, Adam? I mean, come on.
Right.
Yes.
I knew that the whole time, what it means and why it's important.
Did you know that the whole time, Jared?
No, I did not. I had no idea.
I also don't know the first time. It was good to learn.
I was like, SLSA? This is like a different version of an SLSA?
At some point, but some of us learn on the air here, which we've been doing it for years, so we're not easily embarrassed. Go ahead. Let us know what it means now.
So SBOM is simply software bill of materials. All it means is typically in a container package, there's built in many layers. How do you know what's in it? And then second, you want to know not just what's in it, but how is it built? Everything about how everything was built and signed. So if you look at SBOM packages, it can say like, okay, here's not just the top layer image that's there and all the packages. Here's everything else that's in it. And we sign it. We can capture aspects of the build environment, where it was built, various aspects of the node, etc. So there's a bunch of detail that's there. That's typically important for one, provenance, where the thing came from. Two, later, if there's a compromise, you can trace what's all impacted and you can manage that. So SBOMs are critical. And then with containers, they're complicated just because of all the layering that can happen. And so we manage all the transitive dependencies and like really full SBOM. And then many tools, all the scanners can pull from that and understand what's happening there.
Gotcha.
There's maybe three things to explain here. So there's SBOMs, there's SLSA, and there's VEX. I'll cover VEX then second, actually. VEX then is, I'm going to get what it stands for wrong. I'm going to make it up and assuming it's correct. Someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but it's like,
there you go.
It's like vulnerability exceptions, I think, which are a lot of times you have CVEs that are reported, but if you look through it, the maintainers, like, these don't actually apply. And so you can produce VEX statements. And that is also, we stand behind that, or the upstream maintainer has it behind it. And then scanners can understand that and know like, okay, these things don't matter. So it reduces scanner noise. And what's good to do it this way, a lot of times what other people can do is like in the SBOM, they might obfuscate, or they have a CV feed that says, here's the CVs. Instead, we say, here's everything. Go pull it from anywhere else. And then we'll tell you which things we think don't matter. And we're standing behind that. It's just much more open and transparent. And then SLSA stands for, it's an open standard. It stands for how you build a thing and your build environment. And there's various levels. And SLSA 3 just means it's reproducible, hermetic. It is not being tampered with. The build environment itself doesn't have access. It's a way to secure your build pipeline that we're standing behind. So like, okay, nothing's being tampered with on the build pipeline itself.
Gotcha. And
so that's all. A bunch of just maybe that's like, to give an example, all the machinery that goes into doing this stuff. So stuff we put in the free, Lisa, we're giving revenue. I think of it as actually, no, like, look, our business model is very much, there's both the business model and ethos here. Ethos is very much, get this out, the community should run on open standards. And business model is, sure, we'll drive, that's top of funnel to a paid product. But as a result, we do put a lot of effort and value that we give out into free, right? Docker Hub is free. And, we're giving the free tier for Docker Images. There's a lot that just goes into that.
Let's just say I'm a working developer with a couple of servers out there in the wild and they're all Dockerized. Maybe I got a Postgres server and my base image is like Debian or Alpine or something basic. And then I apt-get install Postgres and my Docker file does all the things or whatever. what do I gain by switching to a Docker hardened image, and what do I potentially lose? Or what might I hit up against when I try to do that?
Yeah. So in terms of what you gain, so like two ways, we generally have two flavors of hard images, like a development image and a production image. In development, you want stuff like you need a package manager, you need shell, you need debug, all these things, right? You need the easy debug. Cool. We'll give that to you, still minimal. Really, with them, we recommend a multi-stage build. So for your production images, you don't need that stuff necessarily. So minimize that. There are trade-offs here, primarily to do with usability and how you manage that. So first, the images you get from us, maybe you need a few more packages. We have customized build for that. You run that through a build pipeline. We'll add those in. Those are still hardened packages we're putting in, and you still get all of SBOM, SLSA, VEX, all that carries forward. But, if you've just built a project and doing it, a lot of times, for a lot of people, migration is really easy. Sometimes you've done stuff where like, okay, I have to figure out what's my trade-off between usability and security here, and like, what am I managing there? And if I've built my system in a way where I can't split this up well, or I really depend on like, shell access in production, then those are trade-offs I'm making. And so those are typically the challenges that a number of projects can run into. But honestly, for the most part, from a lot of our customers, we hear like the vast majority of their projects are able to migrate easily to this. We are also looking at building like an agent here to help do this. We've got initial versions of running internally. We use it internally, and then we'll start building that out. Like, how much can we help people with complex migrations here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be super useful. So what did adoption look like back in May? And then what's it look like since then? Is this something that everyone's just like, it's a no-brainer? Obviously, you might have some headaches, but they're worth it, or people more tentative? What's been the reception?
Yeah, maybe just as an anecdote first. We did a webinar, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, something, I forget when. That was pretty broadly attended. I think my favorite question from that was, so is there any reason I shouldn't use Docker hard images?
Right.
There really is like no, you should.
There's really no reason why you wouldn't want to just have a hardened image,
There's really no reason, right? This is part of the reason for opening this up. Like, you should go do this. So early on, we had lots of good traction with customers and working with all the enterprise deals. Since we've open sourced this, also to be fair, we open sourced it right before the break, like I think December 16th or something is when our, not open source, but the free tier, that's when our launch was. But even then, we saw immediate interest and pickup. And so we're tracking open source packages, adopting this dramatically. Like I mentioned, N10 has gone to it. And then with customers, it's resonated. So like CISOs like it, head of platform like it, in part because, we're seeing play out what we hoped, which is, okay, now someone on the team, typically someone has a mandate of like, oh, I should go. And people care about this problem. The barrier for them to go adopt and try it out and see the benefit is low. It's basically zero. They can just do it. And then they're like, okay, now I want all these, additional security guarantees. They're just think, great, now we can have a conversation about the paid tier. So we've seen an uptake for sure in this motion playing out where like open source adoption, top of funnel with companies, and then we start working through this. This is still one of those things I think it takes time to work through because like people have adopted it, they have to care about security, they drive it, but starting to see this grow quite a bit.
You mentioned releasing this announcement right before the break. Adam, didn't you have some feedback on that timing of this announcement? I think it was like...
I think anybody would have feedback on that timing. I mean, come on now. Yes, the worst time ever.
So I'll say something counter that.
It's the worst timing ever.
Just because right before the break. I don't know. I feel like holidays are actually now like when all AI products get released. It's like the moment to release all the things anyway.
Right. Everyone's at home tinkering. They're like, we got to get our product out there for people to tinker it with it.
Yeah. I didn't know it was December. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, I don't care what month it is. I'm here and I'm innovating. You better follow me or be left behind. I suppose there's no really bad time. It's just that whenever you want to get good fanfare, now you're playing a month-long launch plan versus a single day with a great precipice and a lot of attraction. Now it's just, I think you just made it hard on yourself basically.
Yeah, it's fair enough. We'll take that. Honestly, part of it was just like, let's just do it. and get it out versus come back in Jan. Let's just go.
Right.
That being said, though, I mean, there's no good time like Secure Today. Like Secure Today, I would rather use Secure Today than tomorrow.
Yeah.
In every case, because don't delay security. I think, timing is not the best because we couldn't do the show in December. We were away. We were taking our breaks.
That's why we're talking about it now.
But here we are, January 28th, talking about it. Super important though. I mean, I think, the one thing that I'm reading here is obviously that, when you make a change, when Docker makes a change, when you change the default, it's a ripple effect throughout the industry.
Yes.
And I think about one, the effect of that ripple, and then two, creating that ripple. My gosh, behind the scenes, what kind of thinking, what kind of specifications, what kind of planning, how do you architect this new vision, this new build pipeline from build kit to all the free artifacts that are given away for free, and then changing how you productize it to create revenue as a company? I mean, it must have been a head of engineering undertaking. You know what I mean?
It's a whole company effort. Honestly, my job is the easiest in all of this. I mostly say hey, we should do this.
We should do this.
Let me know when it's finished, guys.
And then, look, Docker's got great talent. And so people rally and do stuff. In this case, this was always part of the thing we wanted to go do and drive it. But then, yes, there's lots of stuff to go figure out. Starting first and foremost with, don't put stuff out there. It's true for everything, but if you're going to make a big product announcement that we have, the quality, the underpinnings of this technical security have to be stellar. We simply cannot do it if you don't do that. In part because, not from a brand damage, someone call us out like that too, but first, we are the source of supply chain. People will take what we put out there, and yes, we'll get. If you do something bad, someone will find out, we'll figure out. But really, it's a responsibility of whatever we're doing is going out there. So we have to deeply, deeply care about that. And so that comes from just the team that's on this and the experts we have on this and going deep here, right? We've got decades in these areas, and they've got a bunch of strong people here working on it. And then there is our product and strategy and all that we work through, okay, how to actually get this out, manage community, manage customers through this, and work through all of that. So yeah, this is definitely a whole company effort for us to go take on. And it's the start of what we're doing. This is just a start, right? The vision is secure your entire supply chain. For those Java, it's void main down. We want to address everything. We get to packages, get your build pipeline, secure your entire supply chain as we can. Get policies out because we sit everywhere in SDLC, from laptop to CI, production to registries, content rest. Let's try to get to the point where we can secure all of it.
Can you estimate the time to shipping from the point where the phrase Docker hardened images was on a whiteboard somewhere or in a product roadmap, we're going to do this someday, to deciding we're going to do it now, and then from that point till either December 16th or May when you actually ship the original version?
Let's see. I'll jog my memory. So I think what I'll say is so a new CEO joined Don in, I would say, I think Feb of last year.
Okay.
That's when the site is rolling around, and the first team is yep, we're going to do this, we're going to launch it. So I think from that point, we had people with skill set, but formed a team at that point. So I don't know, early Feb, mid Feb, something like that. And we got it out into limited release, early limited release in, I want to say 3 months. Where customers GA'd it, within the next 3 months. So that got us to summer-ish. Then we kept growing. And then I think we knew we wanted to make it free. We weren't sure when. But I think the real thing of we should work towards free. So December, I want to say it was honestly, it was maybe early November, mid-November. It was okay, we're doing this. Or right around, it was close to Thanksgiving is what I recall, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And so from then till there was probably a 4-week sprint.
That's all pretty good. That's all pretty impressive. You said you have a good team there. I mean, that I was expecting longer. So I guess, congrats to you and the team for really a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah. Well, I think in this day and age, you don't have time. Everything.
You don't have time. Yeah. You better get it done yesterday.
You better get everything done yesterday. Because also this subject of containers, but like, this mode of working is critical for us for everything we're doing. And as you know, when we cover AI, we'll talk about that. Like it's in that space in particular, the timeline I just said in the AI world has to shrink 10x.
Yeah.
So
it does.
So this muscle is in general as an engineering organization critical for us.
This part of the conversation talks about the time. 8 months is what I roughly kind of captured there to go from Docker Hardened Images to GA to let's make it free, let's release it, and it's released. But the tension behind it has to go back beyond that. Because one thing that was mentioned in the announcement post was, I'm going to quote this. It says, and while some vendors suppress CVEs in their feed to maintain a green scanner, Docker is always transparent. So there's this, it seems like if I'm reading this correctly, you got Docker, which is, the supply chain essentially of images, Docker Hub, and the trust factor. And you got vendors out there who have been doing versions of this, seemingly not being fully transparent, making their builds green when they're actually not green. Can you speak to not just the cycle to get here, but the tension that rose to say, we've got to take this on, we've got to make this the way, this default standard that you've made it. Can you speak to the tension and what it took to sort of own the responsibility?
Yeah, absolutely. So, these ideas go way back, right? You can go to when like Google distro started, right? And so like a lot of the ideas go back. And so discussion has been there, like, what else should we do here? What to build? How to manage this? I think there's been lots of like in the past discussion of how should we do this? And then it's like, is there a big enough business here? Should we go after this? How do we think about this versus what else we're doing across the company, etc. So this discussion has definitely been there for some time. And like, what's the best way to do it? I think a few things came together for us in Feb. One, leadership change, clarity of like, we're doing this stuff, we're going to do it. Second, I'd say on the technical side, like clear clarity on like how we should do this. Of like, no, this is our principle, like we're going to do this differently and here's how. Even concretely, like VEX statements are a thing the industry is adopting now and we're helping driving that. We've worked on all the scanners of like, this is why you should adopt it. It's a standard, but there's not universal adoption of it. And we're like driving that forward and making that happen. So I'd say the tension is definitely there. Probably before that, I've been a year and a half. I'd say even before my time, it's been there. It's one of those topics that's, been in the industry for a while. And then the real thing was like, nope, we should do this. And that was both business clarity and second, I'd say, technical clarity on how to do this. And then on the speed, we built a bunch of stuff, but we get to leverage a lot of Docker underpinnings, right? We've got Buildkit here, we've got Docker Engine here, we've got Hub here. Like we get to leverage all of that for how we get to go drive this and make it happen. I think the core part is just realizing this will come from like, we are a core part of the supply chain. And so we have to start not just the current stuff we do, but like take on the broad responsibility of how to secure the supply chain. That's both a business opportunity, but it's also almost like a responsibility, right? Given our position where we are.
Can you go deeper into this VEX you've said a couple of times? Vulnerability, exploitability, exchange. It seems like, and I'm not steep deep in this. I'm learning. I'm pulling back the Google results on this stuff. Yes, I still Google here and there because it's just easier sometimes. It seems like this is a way to be transparent, a software suppliers to be transparent about particular areas where you're still vulnerable, but you're able to do so. It seems like in a community mindset where, hey, we've got this thing, we're delivering it. It's not fully green. And these are the areas where it's not green. Can you speak to the behind the scenes and what that exchange actually is?
Yeah. So the way we actually use it is you can have packages. So typically, if you're a distro, you have packages and then you have your own CVE feed. Like, hey, we will tell you what are the CVEs here. And that's one way to control it. You have this root issue often of like, well, there are CVEs, but like, the CVEs in the national database, but they're not actually an exploitable CVE. And we don't think it's actually exploitable in our code base or the way this works. So if you publish your own CVE feed, you can just not publish it. And that's when we do it. We take a different approach where we publish fully transparent SBOM. Scanners can take that and they pull the central CVE feed and they see the CVEs. Then we publish the VEX feed that says, okay, here are the ones that we don't think matter. In the other approach, you're missing that that transparency and that logic of like, oh, here's everything, here's what we think doesn't matter, and here's why, and which is a better approach, because then we can talk about it, right? And we can see whether you agree or don't agree with us. We can figure that. Also, like for CISOs on the end, for anyone else, it's very clear what's happening. So that's the sort of thing we're doing, the approach we're taking here. Now, this has been a standard for some time. It was just like never, as far as I can tell, like broadly adopted yet, because like with scanners we're working through, some had it, some didn't, and now we're working with all of them, and they're all getting it in there.
And what it seems like is it's a focus on what is exploitable versus the things that are not. So you still have, let's just say, security concerns, but these are the ones that we should pay attention to. These are the ones that are actually worth paying attention to and actually cause real harm or damage.
It's both. You put everything in there. It's just a way to annotate stuff. So we put everything there. Like, here are the ones that we think aren't and what's coming, but then also explicitly which ones are not exploitable. We put that in there too. So we cover all of that in there.
What about this tension? Can you go maybe one layer deeper in terms of who has been the supplier? So you got Docker, then you got third parties, not so much by name necessarily, but like, what are their roles in the supply chain, and why has this moved to a free tier with these kind of table stakes requirements been a great move compared to the prior way?
Sure. So maybe a way to think, maybe the way I'll talk about this is, so I think Docker Hub has been, I'd say, easily the biggest main registry for open source container images. There have been other companies that have come up that are selling hardened container images, right? And so that's been a model. There are other business models that companies have come up and started doing. So then the question for us was like, well, one is like very natural for us to do that. So we should look at doing that. And it's a thing we've discussed and not done explicitly. So that's a very natural thing for us to go do. I think the tension talk was more just like, Docker Hub could have remained just the open source usability first place, or really it's like, no, like Docker should take on supply chain security all up. And I think that was the sort of change in like our product and business thinking is like, if you look at our like sort of product strategy pillars, supply chain security should be a core part of it, because we are a core part of supply chain, not just for images, but also where our Docker engine is, right? It runs everywhere. And so we should take those two things and drive supply chain security everywhere. And so that was, I think, the sort of mental framing change that was needed here for us to go drive with this and go do this. And now the other thing for us, making this phrase two parts. One, it's a general approach of broad community adoption and then use that as the funnel. But maybe second is like, we have a holistic platform, and supply chain security and secure content is one part of that. So that's why for us, maybe there's some amount of, revenue impact here, but I don't actually think so, because for anyone who needs compliance guarantees, there's a paid tier. For everyone, there's a broad adoption. But this is one pillar of our business, not the entire business, right? So that lets us go do things where we get broad adoption for the community.
Seems like very much a long-term play. Like, this is not a short game play. This is a long game play. And, Jerry, we're about to release this episode. I think it might be out. I don't know if it's out or not. I don't know. About securing NPM. This reminds me a lot like that. I'm wondering, Tushar, if while you were in this tension period with the ecosystem and realizing the responsibility, and then in this announcement back in February internally, hey, let's do Docker Hardened Images. Let's actually put the effort here. Let's do all the research. Let's figure out what we have to tie together, and let's make a concerted plan to execute. How did you look at the rest of the world in developer land to say, where are other supply chain attacks happening and what are their issues? Because there seems like a responsibility you've taken on, and just put it bluntly, GitHub is not with NPM, at least based on our current examination of the situation. You've taken the responsibility and made a concerted effort and launched it in 8 months. And you've done it regardless of, maybe here in this conversation, regardless of potential revenue loss. I think it's a long-term play, and you're adding trust to the layer and security to the layer, which is good for your brand long-term and good for Docker and me. Like, I got a home lab. I'm launching Docker images on a daily. I want that to be trusted and secured. How did you look at the rest of the world when it comes to supply chain attacks or supply chain security? Was NPM one of the examination targets for you?
Yeah. So number of stuff to unpack there. Absolutely. One thing maybe before I do that, just the revenue topic first. I actually think of this as a revenue accelerant for us, to be very clear, right? Like, I actually think this is a revenue accelerant. Like, we're having this conversation because we launched Docker Hubs for free. All listeners will listen to it. Hopefully, many people will go use it. And within companies, they'll want the stuff the CISOs want, and that should hopefully lead to like them calling us. So like the reach, basically our reach should expand here, right? So I view this as like a revenue accelerant for us, and we're starting to see that play out just in the revenue front. On the other part, you're absolutely right. Look, I can't tell if supply chain security attacks have actually gone up or we just like talk about them more. But there is definitely a market increase here, right? Like NPM stuff, but like the Shai Hulud attack that just happened. Side note, I love that name. I just watched the show and then I was like, now I know why Shai Hulud. So we absolutely saw that and see this happening broadly. And when we look at that, this is what I was saying, like this is the start. We have right now with Docker Images, we've started securing a critical part of your supply chain. There's a lot more to do. There's a lot more that's in your supply chain. There's packages, there's runtime. And so our ambition is to get through all of it and start looking at it all. Mostly because it's just the attacks are increasing, and supply chain attacks are the ones that have massive impact, right? They just ripple out. And so we just see it as a critical business need and a need needed for like software across the world. And then it's also just critical foundation needed. I think if you're going to live in a world where AI agents are writing more software, like if you don't have secure foundations, that life's just going to get way, way worse. And so as we look at our AI play too, we think secure contents and supply chain security is a critical pillar for that too. So that was absolutely look at all of these things. And to be clear, we've not addressed all of them, but this is why this is not a one and done. We've got Docker Images. That's good. No, this is a pillar.
Has to start somewhere.
It's a pillar, and now we're going to work on the pillar.
So one thing we didn't cover was the breadth of the announcement of what was happening here. So if I understand correctly, and correct me if I might be wrong, is over 1,000 hardened images and Helm charts are now available. That's a lot. You're building on Alpine and Debian. These are familiar. These are trusted foundations people are building on. And it's obviously being announced as open source under the Apache 2 license. So DHI is now free under Apache 2. That's the current state of affairs. Where do we go from here? Like what is in that 1,000 hardened images in those Helm charts? What is not there currently? What needs to be there? What is the, if now is the flag moment, where else are you going to go from milestones?
Yeah. So a number of things. One, we're going to roll out hardened system packages. Also today, a lot of system packages that you want come from upstream repos. We're going to start offering our own hardened system packages built from source. We'll patch ahead where and when needed. So we started doing that, and that'll come out. We're also going to look at like language packages. Attack that language by language as you go into that and get those out. On the enterprise side, we'll look at long-term support. Typically, packages have like LTS. After like 2 years, you stop getting patches from upstream, or 3 years. You can buy long-term support from us, so we can continue patching. And typically for enterprises, for various reasons, they move slower. And so that's important there. So we expand, the way to think about this is like expand the breadth and coverage of all the things, of all the content you would care about. Let's get that out. The next thing after that for us, I think, is a secure build pipeline. This is not another thing we're starting to look into, seeing all the interest here. And so we have to figure out how exactly we'll do that. But we want to get this out so anyone who's building software should run on us and get the benefits of SLSA 3 build pipeline, and work on getting that out from there. And then I'd say last thing, and this is like a part of this we started, is I really want to get some agents out here that help you with either migration or help you with like understanding your state of affairs and get you how to get them secure. Like basically everything we can do to have the foundation to make it secure, and then help you move towards that and manage that.
So I've been cruising your hardened images directory or catalog, as you do. And I've been looking at a few of these, and it's very cool. I have some questions around like the security summary. So I'm looking at the PHP image based on Debian 13, 92 packages. So that's pretty slim. 7 tools included if you're going to run the PHP image. And it has 1 medium severity vulnerability, 10 low severity vulnerabilities, 6 unspecified severity vulnerabilities. I assume those are upstream vulnerabilities that you know about because you're not doing hardened packages. Like those things are just like you're patched up as far as you can go, but there's just known vulnerabilities. Is that what those mean?
Good question. So the lows and unknowns, my step, but the medium one, I'd be very clear. I'm going to go look at it afterwards. Typically, those will, if there's any high, we'd work with upstream or we'd go ahead and do it. Medium should fall in that category too. I think for us, where like it should be something we go after soon. So I'll go look at that one afterwards. But generally, high and critical, of course, and even mediums, we try to get ahead of and drive quickly.
So when you have, like, say there's this medium here and we don't know what it is, I can't seem to find if it lists what that is somewhere. I think that'd be a pretty cool addition.
It should be. If it isn't, it'll be a good addition.
Yeah, that'd be a sweet addition. I do see a full security details and it still shows the vulnerabilities list, but I can't seem to find it at the moment. Anyways, is that a known CVE against a package against one of these 92 things that have been installed?
Yes.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that there is a patch, or is there a patch that just hasn't been applied?
If there was a patch, we apply it really fast, like hours. Likely it's not a patch, or in the unlikely case, like it's not a patch. But even then, we typically try to go work at it and get a patch in place.
Sure.
So that's what we do for high. So the medium, it depends a lot where we are on that.
Yeah, I mean, you got lots of packages, you got lots of images. It's probably a never-ending task is just to continuously be.
Yeah, so there's behind this, there's a machine running, right?
Totally.
Software and people.
So then the other question I have about is this Scout health score, which maybe it's new to me. Is that new in general or just new to me?
Scout would be something we've had for some time. Scout is our own scanner that we've had, and it's our own scanner that scans everything. And now we've just put it in here. So you can see the health score that's there. We've given it, in Hub, package owners can see the health score for their packages that they're publishing. And now here we've done it so anyone can see the health score of packages we're publishing here with the DHI.
Yeah, that's super cool. So this one has an A score and it has all the reasons like no high profile vulnerabilities, no fixable critical or high vulnerabilities, signed supply chain attestations, no embedded secrets, no embedded malware, like on and on and on. And I assume there's a score for every image y'all have on here.
There should be a score for every image, and there should not be any score that's lower than an A. And if there is, I will follow up on that.
Well, if we have filter by Scout score and just say, show me the ones that are Bs or lower, and then, get to work.
Did you mention, you mentioned one thing there, which was like no embeddable secrets, etc. So that's another thing where it's not just about reducing the packet applying CVEs. We go through actually a list of stuff or like what makes the thing secure and ensure that's there. Like there's no credentials in there, none of this stuff. And keep in mind, we're getting lots of patches from upstream all the time as we scan every single one of them. So there's a mixture of AI running here and people to make sure what's happening here is secure.
It's cool stuff. It seems like a good step forward for everybody.
It's honestly, for me, it's been, I'm inside the house, so it's, biased thing to say, but seeing the team here just run this and define this and have very strong opinions of how to approach this one and do it. It's been really fascinating privilege to do that, right? As I've come in here and see everyone who works at this space and do it. Because there's a lot of depth in here as we've done this. So I'm excited now and impatient to do all the other stuff that's part of our vision in this space and build this out. And I'm hoping for anyone listening, you should go try DHI. There's no reason not to.
It's too easy not to. Or too easy to, I guess.
Too easy to and no reason not to. Yeah.
Too easy to and no reason not to. I like that's a better way to say it.
There you go.
So this makes me feel like containers are the way even more so now. Like they've already been the way for so long. And this has been the Docker story arc since, Solomon to now, essentially, is that it took the world by storm. We now have the containerized way to do things. Deploying applications has become easier than ever. And, if there was any scrutiny on how that plays out, well, now that you've made this security mindset a first-class citizen in the way you deliver, which seems like the obvious way to do things. Like to not do it this way seems like that's just not right.
Yep.
Containers are the way. Would you agree with that?
I think containers are the way. I mean, in general, I don't think containers are going anywhere, even as application paradigms are changing. End of the day, containers are a great way to bundle up software, package it well, understand it, deploy it across systems. 1000%.
Can you speak to the ecosystem and the partners? So external, Google, Mongo, the CNCF, Sneak, JFrog, a lot of the players in this space, Circle CI, Socket even. We have friends at Socket. Can you speak to partner level involvement in orchestrating all the things, I guess?
Yeah, there's a ton of partner level involvement, right? And like of various kinds. So there's scanners. So like Wiz is, for example, we work with them to integrate stuff here, like all the various scanners. So there's a bunch of scanners have to integrate with us, so drive that. There are CSPs where they pull images from us and understand that, so working with them. There's also interesting things we can do with them over time and figure out various, they have trust centers, so have them integrate with us too, right? So all of effectively their own scanners and their own registry caches, have them integrate with this. So we'll do that. Then there are other players in the sort of, I would say, supply chain or security space, right? So Socket is interesting. We actually have a partnership with Socket that I think we announced, where you can get images from us and we'll integrate Socket. And so you can get the Socket firewall and get their benefit over, I believe it's PyPy or NPM. I forget which one they're on now. I think NPM. And so there's a number of, like the ecosystem, like Docker is in general, the DevTools supply chain space has lots of players in it. And then Docker is just like such a core part of the nexus. So we have lots of players we integrate with as we do this. So when we do this, we have a key arm that goes around and drives various partnerships. We have strong relationships with many people here. With Microsoft, actually at MS Build, when we did LA, the limited availability release, I was at MS Build last year when you were there too. That's where we announced it. And we had early integration with Microsoft for this, where they would take Docker images, by default deploy them, and keep up with updates and get those deployed to their pipeline and to their scanners. And so there's a number of these kinds of integrations we're doing everywhere. And the way maybe to think about this is, if you want to go drive broad change and impact, us launching it is critical, but we have to go do it through all the various, the key sort of, systems and players in this space. Like you can't do broad impact without working with partners.
What is that like? Do you have to, if I'm one of these partners, do I get early access to documentation? Do I get early access to maybe an embedded engineer that's, works for Docker, but actually works for me because they're inside my organization, helping me better understand and organize the way we work around securing Docker or working in orchestration as a partner? How does that play out when it's actually boots on the ground, people getting commingled? How's that work?
It varies based on the state of the partner, state of where we are. So for example, when we started early with Microsoft we were just getting started. So in that case, we had PMs and engineers connected. Generally, everyone would end up in a joint Slack channel or something. And then we're deeply connected. And in that case, we're like doing some co-build and it's very early. So they're getting early access from us and we're working together. When you're later stage, then you just have connection with partnerships and product people generally, and then you drive that forward, right? So depending where we are, we do this. But maybe the approach and the philosophy here very much is succeeding in partnerships is not the job of like a partnership department. It's a job of like our company with everyone, right? So we like figure out what's needed and drive that. And that's the general approach for everything, right? These aren't like, yes, there are departments who focus and stuff, but like we have to operate as like one. And so depending on what's needed, we'll have engineers plugged in, we'll have SAs plugged in, whatever's needed to like manage this and do this as we work through with everyone around it. And so it varies a lot where we are and what's needed as we work through it. But like it's absolutely like ends up becoming a cross-functional team effort by default.
Is there a framework or a specification or a substrate that can be borrowed or extracted from all the work you've done, your team has done for the last 8 or 9 months accomplishing this mission? I'm just thinking like if we want NPM or any other registry out there to have similar characteristics or similar concerns around security, is there a substrate here that can be extracted that says this is the way we secure registries across the board? Because when you look down the line, you've got the idea that you've mentioned hardened MCP servers, for example. This is a versioning thing around AI. AI. That's how can we secure AI? Then you got things like maybe hardened libraries or system package. I'm thinking like apt, or anytime you install anything, like, is there an extractable thing here from this effort that you can lead or provide a spec to?
That's a great question. So like, the first thought that comes to my mind is actually, I think the first thing is like at least extracting like the principles and the like end goals, right? Being very clear about that. Like we have some core principles that we applied. And I say that because like the hows might differ depending on the domain of what's needed.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And so then the second, like what can you extract like at a technical level to that? I am not sure. I'm sure there's stuff here, but especially if I think about stuff outside container images land, then it's interesting and like a little different. But the principles definitely do, and the approach does. In terms of common things that you can pull out there, I think there are things here. For example, like the way we're building, yes, we made it for images and containers, but I suspect that like if you sit down and look at it, core parts of that stuff we can pull out and make it work for like non-container stuff too, maybe, right? And I'm winging it a bit here when I say that. But there's like core parts of like how do you do build, how do you secure a build pipeline that should apply, I think, a little more generically to, as an example. There are parts of like maybe some of the AI agents we're running that can apply more broadly than just for, because they run at the code level to verify security of all the thousands of upstream PRs, patches we're getting, right? So there might be stuff like that. But if I step back and think like, okay, how do you secure non-container registries, etc.? First thought that comes to mind very much is like, let's extract the core principles, and then we can see what components are extractable.
Yeah. Do you have that in like a manifesto? And if not, can you give it to me?
Yeah, as I was saying this, I'm like, I think I teed up the next question.
Yeah, I really want that. I mean, I really do. I think,
yeah.
Well, because I even think about it, like I want your what and your why, and I kind of want a little bit of your how, but not all of your how, because my how is going to be a little bit different based on my context, right? I want to know your what and your why, and how you think about the problem, because that's the intellect, that's the intelligence. My how is going to be different if I run, a different kind of registry that is not at all images or container images or around the things you care about. It's going to be a way different thing. So don't tell me the how, give me the what and why.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually great. And then also, riffing a bit here, even though the how is different, you can imagine if you do that, you still produce maybe like this, another opportunity. This is good. You give me some ideas here. Maybe another opportunity to work with CNCF for someone of like producing a spec of like, once you've done it, like, what's an SBOM at the end of the day? It's a signed artifact saying, hey, here's what I've done. Here's what's there that someone can take and understand and then be like, okay, cool. This passes the bar. So, if you can agree on the what's and hows, then cool. Someone else do that and produce a result, an artifact that captures all of that. And then just depending on what you're doing, we can still like have a central like, reviewer or grader or something across stuff. So it's not limited to just containers, but like expand more broadly. There's something interesting here. You can also do this for like runtime security, for example, I think. Cool. All right, Adam, I think you gave me an action item here.
All right.
Go right down. I
try to do that once a podcast. I want it, seriously. So the moment you release it, email me personally if you don't mind, because I want to read it right away.
All right.
Let's talk about forward-looking things. We're here in January, just the tail end of January, going into February. You've done all this work. It's released. It's out there. We've got table stakes, hardened security out there for Docker images. What is next? You've got great partners in place. You talked about how you integrate with them, how you work with them, how you involve them. And then you have hopes for new trust to be built on in the community. What is, in your mind, as head of engineering, both leading your team, but also just altruistic thinking about Docker and its trust level, what do you want to come from all this work?
There's a lot here. So in terms of sort of what's next and like, how to think about like the impact, that would be great to get here. So first on the current stuff, like I said, we should do a lot more, right? We've got to keep adding packages, expand the ecosystem of stuff we cover a lot more, get into system packages, get into language packages, build stuff at the enterprise layer. We need to get our secure policies, like the ability to define policy and enforce it across your entire tool chain. So working on that, trying to get secure builds to all of this. There's a deep roadmap here for us to go work on and drive. But maybe the like to your point, like what's the sort of maybe the very like impact we want here? Like one, I'd love to see this be the default starting point, right? Like what is needed to get in the place when I'm building something new? Why not start with Docker Hardened Images, and what all is needed to achieve that? And I expect it's a mixture of technical and non-technical things that are needed there. Like one, it's like, for someone new that's starting, like where do they learn how to start? How do we make this be the default easy path? For a lot of people, it's like, I'll copy what someone else did, or I'll just do whatever ChatGPT tells me to do. So like, how do we go influence all these places and have this be the starting point for everyone? Because I think that should be a key thing. If I jump forward N years in the future, great. The next popular open source package starts with just DHI, because like, why wouldn't it? That's like the thing you do. Yeah. And so to go achieve that. And the reason that matters to us, apart from the altruistic goal or just the real goal of like make software secure, is like on the business side, that then very clearly leads to, for enterprises, they get to buy enterprise level security from us.
Yeah, just worry a little less. One less worry for a CISO, or one less worry for a head of engineering to think, gosh, our supply chain needs to be secured. Somebody should just do something about that.
And let's just thrash on the engineers, right?
Let's shift left more, okay? Just put more on the developers.
Right.
Even more.
That's one way you could go.
Yeah. Well, this is very much, just start green. Start green, stay green. So.
Oh, I like that. Start green, stay green.
Yeah.
There you go. That is you should tagline that.
There you go. Put that on the website or something.
If you haven't done it yet, t-shirt that, okay?
There you go.
That's how you create defaults, right? You create a movement. Yeah. Do you see that kind of a tangent? I'm going to riff a little bit. Do you see that? I think it was the show Billions or something like that on NBC. Yeah. I don't even know. I didn't watch the show, but I saw the clip where he was talking about lemons. Did you see this clip ever?
I've seen the show. I don't recall this clip.
Well, there's a known term out there. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. He's like, no, that's not what you do. And I'm going to just paraphrase it because I forget. But he went into this massive, just like deep dive. No, you don't make lemonade. You make lemons scarce. And he went through this whole story arc of how you make lemons the default, and you make it a tagline. That's not cool. That's Le Mans. You kind of give it this cachet of sorts. Yeah. I think if you do something like that, you create a movement, you create a change.
Yeah.
That's how you create, you start green, you stay green. And you make that the maneuver. And it's essentially, you make it not cool. Yeah. It's the ultimate nerd snipe. It's the inevitable. Like this is the way. And the longer you take to get there, the further behind you are.
Yeah. 1000% agree. Yeah. And so if you go do that, and then also, I don't know, we need to go figure out to make this be the thing that like is the default thing that like every agent recommends and starts, because that's just how everyone's writing the code now anyway. So
yeah, agent recommends is still a black box, I guess, in a way, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you can rag it, but that's just from the side. It's not from the bottom. It's from the bottom up.
Figuring that out.
What's left? I know we covered a lot. I know you have a big role there. I know that there's a lot happening around Docker in general. I mean, this is a big announcement. There's AI things happening. What is your stance on things in that area?
Yeah,
around the Docker world.
That's so we've done all this, but like the AI stuff is clearly a big focus for us, and like sort of comes together in my mind. Maybe I'll talk about like how we think about it. At least like how I think about this a bit. So look, Docker, everyone uses it. It's a core part of the SDLC. We help code go from laptop to production. And we kind of solve for like, the big growth of apps that happened over the last decade, right? Cloud native apps. Everyone moved to the cloud. Everyone built services. Containers a way to do that and drive that. We solve for all that with our packaging, with the hub for content distribution, with the engine for building and running. Well, there's two big shifts happening now, right? The entire SDLC is changing. You're developing coding agents, but literally the entire SDLC of how you build, test, publish, run code is going to change and become AI first. And second, the kinds of application you're writing are going to be agents now. The next growth of apps are agents. So I kind of see a very natural thing for us is like, I think of Docker as our job is to help engineers and engineering team securely build and deliver software. And so we've done that over the last decade for the way things have worked. And now we're adapting that for AI. a core thing for us that we've had with Docker and Docker images and even security and trust we talked about, but even more important with AI and agents, I think is trust. The thing is, if you can add trust across this layer here for agents, that'll help people trust in agents more. Basically, today everyone's like writing 10x the code, but no one's shipping 10x the code. In large part because like there's not core trust yet. Even when I use an agent, how do I let it run unfeathered? Do I trust all this output? How do I test all of this? How do I get this out? How do I know what it's building with? So that's sort of a framework we have. And we're starting with the runtime environment. So we've got Docker Engine. This is how you build and package and run isolated environments with containers. Well, now we've got a slightly different thing with agents. So with coding agents, I frankly think it's crazy everyone runs coding agents, flatten the machines, and then just like npx installs MCP servers and runs them in the machine. Like talk about supply chain risk. And so great. But to be clear, the productivity benefits here are crazy, right? What I want to do is I want to use an agent and let it run. I don't want to like run in YOLO mode by default, go do everything, but just give me some comfort, give me some security. So we're going to adapt our engine, build a new engine. The way I think was like building a new runtime engine for untrusted workloads. It should be a place where you can go put in like a coding agent. It needs a computer. It should be able to go run, do everything it can do with security guardrails. So it'll be by default, we'll have micro VMs here. So if you go look, we have our initial start of this that should have just come out. If you look at Docker sandboxes, we're coming up with, you can do Docker sandbox run Claude, spins up Claude in a micro VM. Around that, we have network proxies that are outside the VM. So when it tries to go outside of the network, we run through a proxy layer. We have a credential layer here where you don't have to give it your credentials, but if it tries to talk to GitHub, we inject the credentials outside. So the agent doesn't need to know your secure content or data. You control files it has access to, control where it goes, but let it run. Then for MCP, this is where we're adding our MCP security. We have a trusted trusted registry of MCP servers. These are MCP servers that we vetted. We run through security hardening here. We're also building DHI version of these and a gateway that's plugged in. And the gateway is where we can start injecting a lot more security rules too. And so the vision is built towards a secure runtime for untrusted workloads, folks and coding agents. And we'll make this work both locally and remotely and give you the same thing. So you can be working locally, but we'll have a cloud that'll be coming out soon. And we actually have some early partners who are working on this already. But as a developer, I should just start in our Docker sandbox. I get all the productivity benefits. I run my agent unfeathered. I get all the security benefits. I'll get cloud. And for enterprise, they can manage governance around all of this stuff. And then we tie supply chain security in here. As we're doing this, great, by default, build on the secure content we've talked about, get that in here, et cetera, et cetera. Let me pause. This is like a big, big push for us. And I think like sort of, what should the next, I want to say what should the next 5 years of Docker look like, but I'm talking AI. So let's just say the next year for a minute. And then we'll see what happens after that.
Right.
Well, it does make sense because I'm kind of a dash dangerously skip permissions kind of guy, so when I run Claude, that's where I go. I'm just tired of like saying yes, you know what I'm saying? So I just in a way YOLO. I'm not YOLOing on production stuff, but on like little tinker things. But that's dangerous. Obviously, it's got the word in the flag for a reason. And so what you're saying is, in this future world where we may be going to in this next year around AI, I can do that in a way that is less dangerous because it's containerized. It's compartmentalized. It's in its own, micro VM or a sandbox. And so the danger is really just micro VM danger, not Adam's MacBook Pro danger, where I've seen this, where there was a Hacker News article out on this. I believe someone like deleted the agent deleted their entire machine. That's a possibility when you live dash dangerously.
Yeah, there's a ton here. So just to, paint the picture a bit. So there's the VM isolation, and we can do that and that'll protect your home directory, your directories a bit. But it's more than that, right? So we can talk about just file for a minute. Well, you want to protect stuff, but now, what if you do actually need it to read some folder? How do you manage that? So it's different from like containers, because containers you think of like package and you static and then scale them out. Here we're talking about a runtime that actually needs to be dynamic. That's the nature of the thing. but I still want security. I want security statements to be true about it. So by default, limited access. Once it go out, we can decide what we approve, what we don't, let it run. And when it does, like control writes to sensitive areas. When it wants to write out to the network, it's not just, we have to put a gate there to anything it wants to do outside this box. We put a gate. Great. We'll have a network proxy that can control not just where it goes, but over time, we'll add in deeper rules here that is it doing something dangerous. And we can work at various levels of the stack as we do that. Credentials. Don't give this thing credentials. You want to pull from GitHub? Let's not put that in the agent. Put that outside. An agent can just try to talk to GitHub and we'll inject the credentials as a minute. There's a ton of this stuff we have to do. And I don't know if you followed the Claudebot stuff. I feel like I started, did I start on Saturday or something? And then it's been
pretty
like,
much.
Yeah, so I've been using it and then it's just like insane to follow how the speed. And then I think yesterday there was, I forget the name of the person who wrote like a deep security article of how he used Skill Hub to get everyone to install the skill and like facilitate it. Like show his white hat showed how he could. It just goes to show like what's happening here is like the potential is tremendous. We all want to use it, but the security concerns are very, very real. This is sort of the core of what I think like our job is, like enable devs to be deeply productive and add security in that. And just this is now a space where like this has always been true, but it's even more true. It's more clear now because the productivity benefits and security threats are just like, 100x what they used to be.
Right. Everything's faster, more pervasive.
Yes.
We're just flying by the seat of our pants and the stakes are high.
And I think it's like a perfect moment for Docker because like when you think about isolated secure workloads, I feel like, it's Docker. If not Docker, who else?
Start green, stay green. Just trying to say it,
Yeah.
a couple more times here.
Yeah. And so that's what we'll do, local and cloud also. And I think cloud's critical for us because as you start doing this stuff, I don't know, I was doing a bunch of code recently. I've gotten to the point now where like, I don't know, cloud can run for like a couple of hours for me and produce good quality code with tests and everything. I want that to run off somewhere else so I can like close my laptop and go do something else. And I run like 60s at a time. And so, but I also want I want security as the cloud and I want easy DX between local and cloud because like I want to dig into it. And so that's the other part of the engine we're like building now where the engine will run locally and run remotely and we can get security and seamless, local remote experience for you.
We're going to have to get the IDE back into play, but I'm not talking about the actual IDE. I'm talking about the AIDE, AI development environment. That's what we need.
Yes.
You had that for the cloud development environment, CDE, right?
Yes.
Let me take your machine away from you. Let me put it in the cloud and let me attach your IDE and or Vim or whatever you want to rock because it's just how it works.
Yep.
We need an AIDE out there where you can just develop in the AI and close your laptop and move along and let it just keep churning.
Let's keep churning, right? And then be able to pull it back when you need. You have the security layer there when you need it. And so this is like, so it's like adapting Docker to be the engine across the entire SDLC for AI workloads. And so that's on the development side. And then we're just going to start doing stuff across the rest of the SDLC too. We're going to build security agents as we go and talk about building CI left, working all these problems here. The goal is really help developers securely 10x the code they're writing, use agents, and then help realize that and actually get that shipped out and know that it's safe and secure as you do that.
I definitely think this maneuver you've made with Hardened Images, I wouldn't say it cements it necessarily. It certainly puts the cement down and is hardening, to just go back to the play on words here. Because, I can't imagine deploying software to production in a cloud that isn't in a container. I can't imagine. It just doesn't compute for me that way. Now I am a system D kind of guy, so I do YOLO here in my home lab. So I don't really do a lot of Docker stuff in my home lab. Sometimes, especially if I'm putting somebody else's application in because they've already done the work. They've containerized it for me. But if I'm doing my own thing here, I'm usually system D'ing it and I'm usually just running it bare metal because it's a VM. It's in Proxmox. It's my home lab. It's not high stakes. And it just gives you one less layer between me and the actual machine itself. I've already got hypervisor, virtual machine, then Docker, then app. It's like, come on, I don't need all those layers. That being said, I think that your intuition is right. I think what you're doing in this maneuver has strengthened your position, has strengthened your trust for me. And I think it just solidifies the fact that Docker is here to stay. and containers are the way.
Yeah, maybe like, another pithy statement maybe, like, it's like build once, runs anywhere, sort of like Docker, another build one, runs anywhere, trust always, or something. Like that, right? Like we're adding trust across the board. And that's true for AI. And then you're right, like DHI, like it's the same ethos, right? Coming through of like trust, security is critical, just critical across your entire software lifecycle.
Well, Tushar, you are the head of engineering over there. Anything left to say about what you do, what you're doing, what you're going to do before we close things out?
No, maybe I'll just, wrap up, which is, if I think about like, sort of where we headed, what are we doing? If we're successful and have high confidence will be, then like everyone who's I think the entire engineering world, every engineer's going to move to using coding agents. It's just what's going to happen. I think all that should run in a new secure runtime for agents using the secure supply chain base that we have. So you use the runtime, basically adapting our engine and our content for the AI world. And I think that is, I think, what everyone needs. And I think we're well positioned to do that and already there. So I think that's the core focus for us is believe in like, solve for the world of people using coding agents. But as we do that, I think we're also building the platform that people need for running any agent. So that'll be the next phase once we get through this, that any agent that's running of any kind should run on this layer here. That's what we're focused on doing. Honestly, it's like a super, it's a really fun, I feel lucky to have this gig. It's a fun gig to be in the middle of all the change in software world and then to be at a place like Docker that's doing this, right? It's so critical and so core.
It's a really fun time to be a developer because there's so much change. It's also quite scary, this change.
Yep.
There is some uncertainty. While there's so much potential, there's also so much uncertainty and so much pause, but also so much not pause.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a conundrum really to think about the state of things, but like everything is literally changing. We didn't expect this to be where it's at a year ago. Like a year ago, the conversation was this direction, but not where it's at currently. And it's clear that everything from the bottom up is changing about how we develop software, how we deploy software, how we have to secure it, etc. It's a fun time because we get to rebuild it all. So if you're an old hat, you're like, okay, that sucks. I don't want to have to like learn new stuff. But if you're a new hat, you're like, sweet, let's build some cool stuff. But it is a wild ride we're on right now. I mean, everything is changing.
It is a wild ride. Also, at least for me, like, look, I struggle to answer the like, hey, where will engineering be and like, will software development be in 2 years? I don't know. I can estimate and I can guess a bit. But right now, what's really fun is like, fundamentally, I think people become engineers to like build stuff, like solve problems and innovate. And like coding has been a key way to do that. We just get to like do that at like 10x, 100x the throughput now. It's just fun. I can like have an idea and go. And that's just fun.
Couldn't say it by myself. Tushar, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, doing this hard work, leading the charge, and being cool. Thank you.
Thank you all. It's a lot of fun. Great talking to you.